Alright, so here we go again. Another UFC title fight announced, and guess what? It's one that absolutely nobody asked for. Volkanovski versus Rodriguez II is apparently going down in September in Mexico as the main event for UFC 320. And listen, I get it. It's in Guadalajara. You want a Mexican star headlining the card, but are we really doing this again? I mean, Yair just got cooked by Volk like 2 years ago, like completely outclassed. Got picked apart, stopped in the third round, and since then, he's only had one win over an aging pit bull. And before that, he lost to Brian Ortega. That's your title challenger? That's your rematch hype? And this isn't even about Yair. It's about what the trend says. It's like, ever since 2024, the UFC just decided, hey, forget the merit. Let's just book whoever sells the most tickets. Like, we're in this weird era where being the best doesn't guarantee you anything anymore. Being marketable does. Meanwhile, you got Movsar Evloev, an undefeated machine, just chilling there in the shadow. I mean, this is the same guy who beat Aljamain Sterling, Arnold Allen, Dan Ige, Diego Lopez. And yeah, some of those were close, but he's winning. He's grinding, he's earning it, and instead of giving him the shot that he deserves, the UFC's booking him against Aaron Pico, a guy who's making his UFC debut. Dude, what are we doing, man? And yeah, Pico is fun. He's explosive. He's marketable. I get why the UFC likes him. But throwing him straight into the fire against a #1 contender, that's not matchmaking. That's gambling. And you know, if Pico lands that one shot and knocks Evloev out, boom, title shot incoming. That's the play here. They want a knockout artist, the American prospect, the guy with star potential. Evloev, too quiet, too methodical, not enough highlight reels. It's like the UFC is on this full-on sprint to cash in on hype before actually respecting the rankings. They're not even hiding it anymore. The belts are just props at this point, let's be real, if contenders can keep leapfrogging that easily. And you know what would have made sense? Volk versus Evloev in the main event, co-main event, Diego Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez. Now that's a banger. That sells without compromising the sport. Give the fans real fights. Give the contenders what they've earned. Instead, we're just recycling matchups and pretending it's just justified. And look, man, I'm not saying every title shot has to be pure. Sometimes the stars align and you go big, you know? But man, lately it's like every belt is on a loan on whoever boosts the gates, not who's ever fighting their way up. And the fans, we're starting to see right through it. And honestly, this is where we gotta zoom out and really look at the bigger issue, because this whole Volk versus Yair thing, it ain't some isolated case. This is the UFC's problem right now. Undeserved title shots are happening way too often. It's not about earning it anymore. It's about optics. It's about selling pay-per-views. It's about the guy with the louder fan base or the bigger storyline, not the guy who's actually fought through hell to climb the ladder. The UFC's been handing out title shots based on hype, not merits. Chito Vera got a title shot after a decision win over Pedro Munoz. Nothing special, just a storyline with O'Malley. Steve Erceg was ranked number 11 when he got Pantoja. Promising? Sure, but title ready? Not really. Dustin Poirier got Islam after one win, just beating Benoit Saint Denis, and then got tossed right back into a title shot. Colby Covington was inactive for over a year and only had one win over Masvidal and still received a title shot against Leon Edwards. Adesanya lost to Sean Strickland, no rebound fight, and got booked with Dricus du Plessis. Khalil Roundtree beat Anthony Smith and leapfrog Ankalaev for Pereira. Pennington versus Pena came out of nowhere, no momentum, just name with history. Stipe hasn't fought since 2021, but got John Jones without lifting a finger. Kaya Sakura made his UFC debut in a title fight. Are we being serious right now? At this point, the rankings are just a vibe. If your name rings a bell, you're in. As for everybody else, get in line and pray someone gets injured. And now they're doubling down on that logic with Aaron Pico. Like, bro, how are you going to bring someone in from Bellator, someone who never even held the belt there, and line him up against the #1 contender on day one? It's not matchmaking, it's marketing. At this point, it feels like the UFC is building cards around moments, not rankings. They want the viral knockout. They want the post-fight mic drop, the international star. And I get it, it's business, but you can't keep selling the best fight the best while consistently skipping the ones who actually deserve the title shot. That's the problem. It's not just one fight, it's a trend. And every time they do it, it chips away what makes the UFC legit in the first place. And you know what's really starting to piss me off? The whole thing is starting to feel like boxing. Like, when did this happen? When did we stop being the sport where the best fight the best and start becoming a place where timing and politics matter more than actual merits? Because let's be real, this was always boxing's biggest flaw, right? The ducking, the delay, fighters holding on to records, waiting for the perfect moment instead of stepping it up when it actually matters. That's what the UFC's biggest selling point was. We don't do that here anymore. But lately, it's starting to look real familiar to boxing, you know? Like, tell me, why the hell are we not getting Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall right now? The hype is there, the fans want it, the interim champion is calling for it, Tom is in his prime, and Jon, well, he's just not showing up. And the UFC isn't presenting him. They're letting the belt sit. They're letting the division stall. That's boxing energy. Meanwhile, boxing of all sports is actually giving us what we want. Fury versus Usyk, Crawford versus Canelo. Dude, they even did Tank versus Garcia. They finally figured it out. The sport that was mean for being slow and overly political is now out-delivering the UFC in terms of legacy fights. That's the ironic part. For years, MMA fans were clowning boxing. We don't wait around. We don't duck. We don't protect stars. But now look, the UFC has turned into the same exact thing that it claimed it wasn't. It's all about maximizing a fighter's star power at the perfect time, even if it means skipping the actual number one guy. And that's what's happening with Volk versus Yair. That's what's happening with Pico versus Evloev. That's what's happening in the divisions right now, where business is overtaking the rankings. And don't get it twisted, this ain't hate for the fighters. It's frustration at the system, because the UFC knows how to make great fights, but right now they're choosing profit over purity. And as a fan who actually cares about competition, it's tough to watch, man. I'm not gonna lie. And let's not kid ourselves here. The only reason we're even having this conversation is because the UFC is dead set on expanding onto the Mexican market. That's the whole reason Yair's gained this rematch in the first place. It ain't because he earned it. It's because they need a Mexican star to headline UFC 320. Simple as that. You think it's a coincidence that they're putting this card in Mexico and giving Yair another title shot after he got dismantled the first time? No. That's not matchmaking, that's marketing, and it's not even subtle. Like, remember when Yair won the interim title and they gave him a custom Mexican championship belt? Like, bro, he wasn't even the undisputed champ, and they're handing him a belt with the Mexican flag on it like he was Canelo or something. You don't do that unless you're desperately trying to sell a market. And it's not just him. Think back to Brandon Moreno, great fighter, former champion, but let's not forget the UFC was heavily leaning into this popularity in Mexico and made him the face of the entire demographic, which is fine. He deserved it at the time, but now it's starting to feel like they're trying to force another star from that region because they don't have one organically ready to carry that weight. And that's just the hard truth, man. There's just isn't a deep pool of top tier Mexican talent right now. Not in the way that they want, not in the way they're pushing it. So what does the UFC do? They manufacture hype. They fast track contenders like Yair into the main event, even when they've done nothing to earn it. They've given out custom belts. They build fight nights and pay-per-views around regional appeal instead of actual rankings. And that's how you get these weird matchups that make no competitive sense, but looks good on a poster in Mexico City. Look, we're not saying don't go international. Of course, grow the sport, build stars, but do it the right way. Don't fake it. Don't sacrifice title integrity to prop up someone who couldn't even make it past Brian Ortega. And yo, the part that pisses me off the most is the fact that Alex Volkanovski isn't getting any younger, man. We're running out of time with this dude. He's taken every challenge, fought killers, ups and downs in 2 different weight classes, and he's still out here trying to add to his legacy. But instead of giving him the fight that matters the most, we're getting a rerun with Yair Rodriguez. Like, come on, dude. We saw that fight. Volk dominated. There's no mystery there. No drama. No reason to do it again. What hurts even more is those losses to Islam and Topuria already took a chunk out of his aura. That unbeatable vibe. It got cracked. But he bounced back against Diego Lopez, man. That actually brought life back into him. That wasn't just a win, it was a statement. Volk looks like the guy again, like the great was still in there. And that's why I want him to fight Movsar Evloev. I want him to beat guys who are hungry, dangerous, and can push Volk in new ways. That's how you build legacy. That's how you shut people up and remind the world why your nickname means something. Volkanovski is literally living to the great right now. And instead of stacking meaningful wins, we're wasting time. We're burning daylight on fights that already happened and ended decisively. This ain't just about matchmaking, it's about moments, and the UFC's letting that slip away. And look, man, at the end of the day, this isn't just about one bad title fight. It's about what the UFC is turning into. When the rankings stop mattering, when guys like Volk get sidelined from legacy-defining fights, and when contenders like Movsar Evloev are treated like placeholders, it chips away at everything they made this sport different. Volkanovski is the great, he earned that name, and instead of stacking his legacy with real challengers, we're wasting his twilight years on rematches that no one asked for. Meanwhile, hype trains are getting express passes to the top, stars are being manufactured instead of earned, and the fans, we're supposed to just go along with it. But we see it, we feel it, and if something doesn't change soon, we're gonna stop caring the way we used to. So yeah, Volk versus Yair 2 might sell in Mexico, but in the grand schemes, it's a loss. It's a loss for legacy, a loss for the sport, and honestly, that's the part that stings the most. And the worst part, if Volk did fight Movsar and beat him, I would have celebrated. I would have cracked open a beer that day, no questions asked. But instead, we're stuck watching a rerun. And all I can hope is that this is the last time, but I know it's not gonna be the last time, man. This sport is freaking cooked, dude.